Now on to my life. Born 1972 in Rochester, Pennsylvania. Moved from Rochester to Midland, PA, to Beaver, PA, to Pittsburgh, PA. But when I was born, when I became in my, I say when I was born, but when I grew up, started growing up and becoming into my more in my teens, I started becoming the black sheep of the family. With a couple of exceptions that I'm going to list here that meant a lot to me, and is the reason why who I am today is because of these people, actually. But I did become the black sheep of both sides of my family for being gay. Then when I was diagnosed with my chronic illness, then that was like a more of an extra additive bonus that they could black sheep me for. But there were several people in my life growing up that meant a lot to me, who to this day still mean a lot to me. I'm trying not to lose composure here. Let's see. I had two grandmothers by the name of Rose Harcum and Betty Vermillion. Two grandfathers by the name of Stafford L. Harcum, who served in World War II, and Frank Vermillion, who had his own painting and his own painting business and his own fur business. When fur was big back then, they used to take their furs, raccoon pelts, and all that to him, and he skinned them down, got the money for him, and he earned his living that way too. Two great-great-grandmothers, Nicolina Porto and Moggy Rudy. Nicolina Porto came over from Calabria, Italy. Met a good man by the name of Bruno Porto, so she became Nicolina Bruno Porto. I think that's how it is. Anyways, her name was Nicolina Porto, married name. Came from Italy. She lived to be 93, died in 1997. My other great-grandmother, Moggy Rudy, lived to be 96 or 97. So I got the genes to live a long life if I can, but with my chronic illness, I highly doubt that. Let's see. Two aunts, actually four aunts, really. My Aunt Nikki, who happens to be my mother's sister, and my mother. Let's not forget my mother, because my mother has been there for me, and just actually lives two feet away from my house, actually. So we live close. So we're close still to this day. My aunt, who is her sister, my Aunt Nicolina, named after my great-grandmother Nicolina, but she goes by Nikki Calconen. She lives in Sun City Center, Florida today. Another aunt who happened to be my not my great-grandmother's, but my grandmother's sister, my grandmother Rose Harcum's sister, by the name of Norina Kendrick, and her husband, actually, too, Howard Kenny Kendrick. He went by Ken, but his first name was Howard Kendrick. They lived in Wichita Falls, Texas. That's another place that I want to see on my wish list. But she was the greatest aunt that anyone could have had. Her and Nikki both. Two more aunts that were on my father's side. I have not mentioned my father yet because I'm going to devote a whole video tribute to my father in a minute here. But two on my father's side by the name of Aunt M. Yes, I had an Aunt M, Emmy Lou, but we called her Aunt Emmy, or Aunt M. We also had an Aunt May, who happened to be my grandmother's on my father's side, my grandmother Betty's sister. And those were pretty much the ones who stuck by me through my being gay and my chronic illness. Anytime I went around them, they shone a light into my face and made me who I am today, actually. That's my family. That means a lot to me. I also have gotten 2 more relatives in the past couple of years. One by the name of JJ, or Jesse Vermillion Jr., who happens to be my nephew. I got an interesting story about my nephew too. And my niece, Dakota Joanne Vermillion, from industry actually. But my nephew said something to a friend of his, because a friend of his, mind you, he's like maybe going on, he's 13 now. 13, a friend of his was, I guess you'd say, sort of making fun of me by saying, if you hear any noise in the back seat, and he was getting in the back seat with another boy, so he said, if you hear any noise in the back seat, don't turn around. And my nephew comes out, bless his heart, and says, don't make fun of my uncle. I love my uncle and I respect him for who he is. Let me just say, when he first said it, it really started to bring tears to my eyes, and I wasn't expecting that from my nephew. My grandmother, Harkham, also is an important part of my life, so I'm going to have a separate video for her too, actually. But those are the people who mean a lot to me in my life, and who have not black sheeped me in the family. The rest of my family, on both sides of my family, have black sheeped me for being gay, and for having a chronic illness, actually. But now the next story is going to be very interesting and tough to talk about, because it's going to be talking about my father. So that's the next video. So thank you for listening to me on this one, and love and laughter to you all. Bye.